We're here today to discuss the measures that we are taking to protect Canadian workers, like these great workers of Stelco, and industries like this great steel mill, against the illegal and unjust tariffs imposed by the United States on Canadian steel and aluminum. The idea that Canada might constitute a threat to American national security, the legal pretext invoked by our neighbors to impose these tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum exports, is not only absurd, it's hurtful. These Section 232 tariffs are illegal under WTO and NAFTA rules, and we have therefore initiated cases at the WTO and under Chapter 20 of NAFTA to challenge them. We've been joined by many countries around the world. As a strong supporter of the rules-based international order, it's important for Canada to be taking this legal action. Canada has no choice but to retaliate with a measured, perfectly reciprocal, dollar-for-dollar response, and that is what we are doing. On May 31st, the Prime Minister and I announced that Canada will impose tariffs on imports of steel and aluminum and other products from the United States, representing the total value of 2017 Canadian exports affected by the U.S. measures. This is $16.6 billion, Canada's strongest trade action since the Second World War. Following extensive consultations with Canadians, today we are publishing our two final tariff lists. One list that will be subject to a 25% tariff, and a second list that will be subject to a 10% tariff. These countermeasures will only apply to goods originating from the United States. They will take effect on July 1st and will remain in place until the United States eliminates its trade restrictive measures against Canada. Where possible, we have sought to put products on the list that can be easily sourced from either Canadian or non-US suppliers. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the Canadians who have been very actively engaged in the consultations on these lists. I'm extremely grateful for all of your input that has helped us to build the best possible retaliatory list. As we take these steps in response to the Section 232 tariffs, we are acting in very close collaboration with our like-minded partners in the European Union and in Mexico. I was, in fact, in Brussels on Tuesday, in part to discuss this issue, and I've been in touch with Mexican officials this week. It's important to point out that these countries are also subject to the Section 232 tariffs, which were imposed on June 1st, and they are also allies and neighbors of the United States. Canada's approach is and will be this: we will not escalate, and we will not back down. Judging by the feedback I have received in the past few weeks, countless Canadians of many diverse political points of view agree with this approach. I cannot emphasize enough the regret with which we take these countermeasures. We are acting very much in sorrow, not in anger. But the U.S. tariffs leave Canada no choice but to defend our industries, our workers, and our communities. And I can assure you that we will maintain the firm resolve to do so. The solution to this unprecedented dispute is for the United States to rescind its tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum, which do not pose any kind of security threat to the United States. La politique du Canada est telle que nous ne provoquerons pas d'escalade et nous ne reculerons pas. Le Canada n'a d'autre choix que de riposter par une réaction mesurée, parfaitement réciproque, dollar pour dollar. Et en juger par les recommandations que j'ai reçues ces dernières semaines, d'innombrables Canadiennes et Canadiens de tous les horizons politiques partagent cet avis. Il est vraiment regrettable que nous devions appliquer de telles mesures. Toutefois, les tarifs douaniers imposés par les États-Unis ne laissent aucun autre choix au Canada que celui de défendre nos industries, défendre nos communautés et défendre nos travailleurs. Et je peux vous assurer que nous sommes résolus à le faire. La solution à cette dispute sans précédent est simple. C'est que les États-Unis annulent leurs tarifs sur l'acier et l'aluminium canadien qui ne constituent pas de menace à la sécurité nationale américaine. Canada will continue to work towards the full and permanent removal of these U.S. trade restrictive barriers. Our government remains in very frequent contact with the U.S. administration. In fact, I counted up this morning, and I've spoken to Ambassador Lighthizer already 6 times this week, and I have expressed our willingness to meet. Anytime, anywhere, in order to resolve this issue. I remain confident that in the end, common sense will prevail. My colleagues will now outline some of the measures our government is taking today to support Canadian workers. Now?
Well, thank you very much, Chrystia, for your leadership and your hard work on this very important file. I wish these were less difficult times that were brought here together. I must confess that these difficult times will also pass, and I believe there is a way forward. And as Canadians, we will get there together. As my colleague Chrystia said, we are taking action and sticking up for Canadian workers and Canadian industry. But at the same time, we will continue to act collaboratively, constructively, and with conviction when it comes to our dealings with our neighbor in the United States, which is such an important market, a market that we're highly integrated with, because there's too much at stake. The steel and aluminum industries are very important to our economy and to the regions like Hamilton, the same region that we are so proud to represent here today. Les industries de l'acier et de l'aluminium garnissent une importance de premier plan pour notre économie et pour des régions comme celle de Hamilton. In 2017, the Canadian aluminum industry employed more than 10,000 hardworking Canadians and contributed over $4 billion to our economy. And our steel industry is very important as well. It employs over 23,000 Canadians and generates over $4 billion for our national economy as well. And so, the challenge before us now, as we face these unjustified and counterproductive tariffs, is to make sure our steel and aluminum industries can continue to remain competitive, to innovate, and to create middle-class jobs for Canadians. And our government stands by you, stands with you, and with all Canadians to meet the challenge. That's why we're introducing safeguards, as well as creating dedicated funding of an additional $250 million for the Strategic Innovation Fund to support the steel and aluminum industries, and more importantly, our workers. This, combined with the $1.7 billion in financing through Business Development Bank of Canada and Export Development Canada, will ensure that Canada's steel and aluminum industries will not only adjust to their unfair and difficult economic conditions, but also continue to innovate and thrive under these new circumstances. We will also provide an additional $50 million to support efforts by Canadian businesses to take advantage of newly signed free trade agreements with Europe and Asia to diversify our economy and our market. And this total package is worth $2 billion, again, to support our industry and our workers. You can count on this government to continue to fight for you, to stand up for you, and particularly to stand up for our small businesses who are so critical to our economy. Our message is very clear. We have your back. Thank you very much.
Well, hello, everyone. My colleagues today have outlined the measures that we're going to take to protect Canada's steel industry. But we know that this time is very stressful for Canadians that work hard every day for their country, their community, and for their families. And we want you to know that the Canadian government is beside you, fighting for you, and the jobs that are threatened by these illegal actions taken by the United States government. We will make sure that you have the supports that you need as we vigorously defend our Canadian steel industry and your jobs. Le gouvernement du Canada, votre gouvernement, se tient à vos côtés, les travailleurs de l'industrie de l'acier et de l'aluminium. Nous sommes solidaires envers les travailleurs de Stelco. Nous défendons les métallurgistes à Hamilton et Tariffs à le pays. So first, we'll extend the work sharing program. We're adding $25 million today to double the maximum duration of weeks for work sharing agreements from 38 to 76 weeks. The work sharing program helps workers in threatened industries by supporting employers to avoid layoffs. If hours of work are reduced, workers can receive employment insurance for the remaining hours up to 1.5 years. We've used this program before when other industries have faced challenges, and we'll use it again today while our government continues to fight for the full and permanent removal of these unjustified and illegal U.S. trade barriers. And today we'll also make an additional $50 million available to provinces and territories to provide job skills and training supports that will give workers new opportunities to upgrade skills and pursue other opportunities. Service Canada has also activated its rapid response plan, and it's working closely with people from the steel and aluminum industries along with related sectors so that workers and employers can get information, benefits, and supports they need quickly. These are measures that we're taking right now, and we're committed to seeing this through. If, as we go forward, more support is needed, we'll be there with you to support you, your families, and your communities. Ce sont là des mesures que nous prenons en ce moment. Nous sommes déterminés à traverser cette épreuve. À mesure que nous progressons, d'autres mesures seront nécessaires et nous serons là pour vous soutenir, vous, vos familles et vos communautés. To the Canadian workers who are watching from home, the Canadian workers that are here today, Canada has your back. Our first priority is to protect you, to protect your families, and to protect your communities. You are at the center of everything that we have been doing to stand firm against these illegal actions that have been taken by the American government. You are the reason that we have included American steel and aluminum products in our countermeasures. And it's why the package that we're announcing today puts Canadian workers and families first and front and center. We're happy to take questions now. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Please identify yourself and your outlet, and we'll do one question, no follow-ups. If you'd like a second question, you can go to the back of the line.
Thank you, Mark Cousin from CTV News. This question's for Minister Freeland. Can you hear me now? Is that a little bit better?
Can you say again? Yeah.
Mark Cousin from CTV News. This question's for Minister Freeland. Are you concerned at all that former Prime Minister Stephen Harper is visiting the White House and possibly meeting with Larry Kudlow? Does that undermine your negotiating position on NAFTA and tariffs?
You know, one of the things which has been incredibly valuable for Canada throughout the NAFTA negotiations and more recently as the 232 measures have come into effect has been the incredibly united position that Canadians have demonstrated. And I think there has been unity of premiers with the federal government, of mayors. I spoke actually to the mayor of Hamilton this morning, and he asked me what he could do to help. He talked about all the U.S. mayors he's been in touch with. And, you know, this has been not a partisan issue. We have had support across the political spectrum for the Canadian position. And that is really important because Canada has had these illegal measures imposed upon it, and these are measures affecting our great workers, and we need to stand together to support them. When it comes to Prime Minister Harper, he is a person we all need to respect as the former Prime Minister of Canada. The remarks he made on Fox News recently, I think, were helpful, and we wish him well in all of his endeavors.